Tony Schiavone welcomes Daniel Garcia to the ring. Talks about what happened last week, obviously, with Adam Copeland, and says, look, you're getting a TNT title match at Revolution against Christian Cage. You deserve it. Chants from the crowd, quite right. He thanks them, Garcia does. He says a few months ago he was his lowest. He had this losing streak, of course, and he was in the Continental Classic. But he said, all I need was 3 seconds. And he got it. He did it in that final match. That changed everything. Every time he got down on himself, the fans picked him up, and they thanked them again for restoring his confidence. He said, look, last week I'd have made Copeland tap out, and he promises that's not the last time they're going to see each other. And he says he's got a message for Christian Cage.
That was a bit ominous, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. He's got a message for Christian Cage, and out comes Cage with all the patriarchy. And Nick Wayne's Moime is there. Boo me!
A mother?
More mic time, please. Cage says, by the way, Adam Copeland's never going to get another TNT title shot, and he's the reason you were in harm's way, Daniel. He says, I don't think I should wrestle you at Revolution. You're not ready. You've got these constant distractions like dancing and catering to the fans. It's going to keep you from being great, that. And then you see that glint in his eye, and he says, been doing some research into your childhood.
Not another one.
That's exactly what I thought. I don't think I was like, I can't use the button. That feels insensitive.
Yeah.
Also, a shout out to Sean Ross Sapp, who Googled the address that was said, because people are like, it's a graveyard.
Yeah.
It's a grave. Yeah, so he says, I know about your dark childhood. He brings up Jackie Garcia from Buffalo, married to David Garcia, your dad, who's dead.
I can't believe it.
He says, be a fairy tale ending for you to win the TNT title in tribute to your father. But we both know your father was a piece of crap loser alcoholic. Unlike your dad, Cage says, I don't want to hurt you. I want you to realize your full potential. I don't want to be your opponent. I want to be your father. And Garcia's furious, obviously, at all this. He says, you mentioned my mother again. And if you like, seeing as you like bringing up my dad, why don't you get in the ring? I'll put you in the ground right next to him.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I love that. And Cage is like, to Nick Wayne, he jumps in, he immediately gets put in the dragon tame. I love that. Get him, son. Gets in, bollocks.
Yeah.
Right, kill switch, you go. Kill switch comes down, but before he can get involved, Matt Menard nails him with a chair, gets in there next to Garcia. They stand tall, and Cage says he doesn't want to hurt Garcia, he just wants to guide him, and he just decides against it and holds up that TNT title.
I watch a segment like this, and I'm thinking about AEW, yeah. I'm thinking we're back.
Oh, my God.
This was so great. This is absolutely amazing on so many different levels. So you've built up Garcia, you've rehabbed him all to this moment. That in itself is a twist, because you didn't think Copeland wasn't going to go for the TNT title. So there's been twists and turns, quite unpredictable along the way, but they all make a perfect amount of sense. So it's like you've gone away from that really solid formula that AEW had developed alongside its terrible sports entertainment flirtations last year. So this feels like proper episodic TV. This feels like real great character work. And Daniel Garcia was every kind of a great babyface here. Every single kind of a great babyface. I could not have been more impressed by what he did end to end in this segment. It was fantastic. So the first thing he does is he's got a bit of belief and conviction behind himself, and his words to Adam Copeland, his intention that he's intent that he would have won and all the rest of it. But he's like this really humble dude who just thanked the fans for sticking with him during the lowest ebb of his career. He has this incredible reveal that I was like, I cannot believe it's happened again in AEW, which is like a total gut punch. But it never even descended to go into that maudlin self-pity, because the fire with that unbelievable line was incredible. So Daniel Garcia, he's not the most, doesn't have the best rhythm and cadence in this outwardly megastar, broad charisma, but he's got that Bret Hart appeal where you can believe everything he says and he believes it. This sort of low-key conviction in everything he says, similar to Bret Hart. He's got this appeal, and he's built it for years through his work. We've talked a lot about how, unlike so many young wrestlers, he will actually make deliberate, unforced errors because he realizes I'm 25. I'm a decade away from becoming great, like most wrestlers do when they hit their mid-30s. I've got loads of time to improve. Loads of space given to himself to like be great, if that makes any sense. Yeah. He's the only one who kind of, I've described it as like a worked young lion excursion, where he's clever enough to realize I've got years of this left. If I can be like a bit flawed now, how much is it going to mean when it all starts to click? And now we're at that time where it's all starting to click for him. So he's got this unbelievable sympathy where he's failed so often. Why, it's time. You want it to come together for him. So he's got that a completely different, in the West, level of sympathy and fan investment that no one except him has been clever enough to try and sort of draw from. He's got that Bret Hart appeal. And before it becomes a little bit too, I don't know, trying not to slander Bret Hart here. Before it gets a little bit too cool as a customer, businessman-like, he showed that fire with that line. Like every kind of great babyface, I fell in love with Daniel Garcia. Like, I kind of have been for a while. But my God, how could you not fall for him? How could you not want to see him win that title after this? It's absolutely brilliant. And Christian Cage was a complete and utter twat. He understood the assignment. All he had to do was be Christian Cage here. This was absolutely unbelievable. You know what's another great thing? And I'd like to think that this was a planned detail all along and not just this wonderful bit of happenstance. Maybe and this is right. You know, when back in 2020, in 2019, and to an extent 2021, we were talking about just that level of detail and that thought, and you think, am I giving this promotion too much credit, or are they simply that goddamn good at this? This is on that tier, the following take. It's like, I don't even care if I'm wrong. It's nice to be able to be this invested. Like, if the idea is right, we are going to at some point incorporate the fact that Daniel Garcia's dad died when he was young, presumably, right? Let's keep that in reserve and do something with it. Has Daddy Magic this whole time been this like proper father figure to Daniel Garcia?
Maybe, yeah.
On commentary, bigging him up, saying, like, I demand more out of you. Stop dancing. We were taking the piss. Because I was saying all along, isn't it weird how like the sports entertainer, like, he's brilliant as a jackass, Daddy Magic. But what a sharp pivot to like being this sort of, you need to start wrestling, Daniel Garcia. We were like, you're telling him that?
Yeah.
The pathos from that relationship now is quite incredible.
And the thought process to have, because I saw some people saying like, oh yeah, really good booking of Daniel Garcia there. Christian Cage slags off his family and he does nothing to like. It's like, well, what's he going to do? Jump out of the ring and get beaten up? That's the whole point.
I will say, I hate the invisible wall. Yeah, but like sometimes you have to let wrestling happen. And I've said it a million times at this point. The episodic TV format is inherently flawed. Yeah. Sometimes you have to have mates, sometimes they don't come out because you need to get the heat. It's inconsistent by design.
But to talk a little bit more about Daddy Magic, yes, Cage is going to say the worst possible things to try and bait him in so his heavies can destroy him before we even get to the pay-per-view, as he's done with Copeland. But I like the idea that Daddy Magic's not like...
Daddy Magic?
Who's
that?
He's not going to be there. He's not going to be there to steal any spotlight from him when he's having, like you say, having this great moment. But it's a smart babyface. He's gone, you don't need to be out there stood next to me, but we know they're a group, the patriarchy. Christian Cage doesn't go out there and go, I'll just handle this myself.
Yeah.
So if he sends in Kill Switch, just be ready. Just think, like, this is a smart thing of like, you don't have to have 10 of them out there to try and beat the numbers back or whatever. But yeah, Daddy Magic, like you say, father figure, he'll probably try and get you. And it's not just him, it's Kill Switch, it's Nick Wayne. So yeah, I really liked all of this, and I'm really excited to see the match. This is another one of those matches where they've added something that we were anticipating it, but it's still.
I was anticipating something like it. I was dreading a three-way.
Yeah.
My God, I'm so invested in this now. It's one of the things I'm most looking forward to on this ridiculous card.